talking with famous people. And it's also the case that I've got one more day. One more day until what? Well, if you know, you know. You know. I went to go get my Adderall this morning, and perhaps unsurprisingly, since it was a day early, they told me to come back tomorrow. And that's okay. I actually feel almost relieved about it, frankly. Because, I have a very love hate relationship with Adderall. On the one hand, I definitely look forward to it, and I'm very fully aware of when it's coming due and stuff. And I think, well, when I get that, I'll do this and this and the other thing. But on the other hand, it's like realistically, I'm just starting to feel normal again after the last Adderall bottle. And, I don't necessarily love the recovery from it. Although I think that probably has a lot to do with my diabetes. I need to change my diet so that I don't have so many impacts from diabetes or diabetes, if you want to call it that. And the reason for that is because when I don't watch my diet and I'm just eating like sugar and stuff, then I end up with a problem. Namely, I have to get up and pee too much during the night, and it interferes with my sleep too much. So I'm gonna have to deal with that first and foremost. And I think that will go a long way to helping with the whole cycle, because recovering from Adderall is all about sleeping. And if I'm not getting good stretches of sleep, you got a sleep cycle that totals like an hour and a half or something, 2 hours maybe. So if you have to get up and pee a lot and you're interrupting the sleep cycles, then it's not good for you. It's not a good way to get a good amount of sleep, anyway. That's for sure. I'm actually still kind of tired. Uh, I didn't sleep great last night, so it's not a bad thing necessarily that I didn't get the Adderall today. I did drive into town, but it wasn't even a waste of a trip to town because I did need to get cigarettes. Here's this super buff lady playing tennis again. So yeah, I decided I'd come home, do a little ice cream. I thought I'd maybe do a little bit of cleaning, a little sweeping, maybe a little vacuuming. And then take a nap at some point in the afternoon. And then I've got a couple things planned for the evening. I'm typing Zandy at 5 o'clock. And my friend Dave Porter said that he was going to call me tonight as well to continue a conversation we started last night. You're a good kitty. I don't really like it when you sit here, but you are a good kitty. I've got some sweeping outside I could do as well. Oh, Kitty. Yes, I know. I know about your special ways. Okay, go on now. Okay, that's fine. A few other things I wanted to talk about this morning to all I live streamed. I don't really remember what they are at the moment. But I will tell you that currently Keys is playing Cartal in the tennis match here. Hi, Matt Arazi Sound. How you doing this morning? Well, it's just you and me, Matt Arazi Sound, at the moment. We'll see if this stream ends up being any more well attended than this or not. But regardless, it's serving my purpose. Hello there, Poppy. Which is, getting me to do a little bit of extroverting, talk about a few things that I got on my mind or what have you. Poppy rides MTB. What's MTB? Motorized tire bicycle? So yeah, I'm watching a little women's tennis at the moment. Cardle versus Keys. It's in the third set. Keys won the first set, Cardle won the second set. I just turned it on. I like to have a little sports in the background when I live stream. Jeremiah Fix says music television. No, not MTV, MTB. Oh, you watched the angry tennis player video? Yeah. That guy was really mad at his racket. I guess it made him lose. The crazy thing is, that was at the end of the second set. He still had another set to play. But fortunately, he had an extra racket. What do you want with the stream? Soon you'll be 2 meters under the ground. Oh, I just want this, TSEPE. And there's no reason to conclude that I'll be under the ground any sooner than you will. You may be younger, but you may still die sooner than me. And what I want with the stream is exactly this: the opportunity to engage with some people, chat a little bit. It also motivates me to do a few chores. I'll probably do a little bit of cleaning up in a bit. I might even take down the Christmas lights. I know, it's only March. Why take down the Christmas lights? Well, just to get a little ahead of nature's schedule, I guess. They haven't been turned on, obviously, since Christmas, but I haven't actually taken down the physical lights yet. So I might do that. Might make some food at some point. Eric, that's not what you want for the stream. That's what you want for the day. Okay, well, what I want for the stream is just a little bit of company, I guess. Do I watch Novak Djokovic? I've watched him play tennis plenty of times. I don't go out of my way to watch him, but yeah, I've seen him play plenty of times. I watch a decent amount of tennis, actually, surprisingly. You kind of forget about it in between Wimbledon and the U.S. Open, the Australian Open, the French Open. you tend to forget about tennis a bit. I probably am not going to watch the Australian Open. More likely to watch Wimbledon probably than any other tournament in tennis. Uh, I sub to the channel for Typology, but every time I catch a stream, you're doing chores. Well, future of Typology, then you're probably not a good candidate for a stream audience person. I do tend to stream a whole lot. I don't tend to upload many videos anymore. That may change, but at the moment, um, I'm stuck in this kind of habit pattern of mine. Of course, I often do talk about typology on the streams. When people bring it up and have questions, I answer them. But it's not a topic I typically come into a stream planning to talk about simply because I've talked about it for the last 12 years, you know? Maybe 10. 10 is more accurate, probably. I've thought about it, talked about it, made videos about it, made documents about it, etc. for 10 years. So I get that that doesn't matter from an audience perspective. They want to get the kind of videos that they consumed that made them subscribe, and I totally understand that. But unfortunately, I'm not very practical minded when it comes to the channel. So I don't do the things that would help the channel particularly so much as I do the things I feel like doing, which is not a good thing. I'm not proud of that. It's just how it is. Like channels I watch regularly are channels that do the same thing every time, basically. I watch Bretsky. Bretsky's a gambling influencer, and every day he puts up like a 25-minute to 30-minute long video of him gambling. Nowadays, it's about $5,000 a day, which is crazy if you think about it. Um, uh, and I I watch Casino King, another gambling influencer who uploads a video every single day of him gambling. And the only thing that's different is like, well, today he's playing this game, yesterday he's playing that game, but it's just still the same. And then I watch channels like Veritasium that's, they have different topics for sciencey stuff, but uh, it's still the same format every time. The thing is, I do provide the same thing every time, all the time. Which is this live stream, but even within the live stream, it's a mishmash of different things. Sometimes I'm playing music, sometimes I'm talking about philosophical stuff, sometimes I'm talking about typology, sometimes I'm talking about politics. Sometimes yesterday we were talking about foyers, vestibules, antechambers, mudrooms, and other entryway rooms, and what qualifies as which. There's quite a bit of distinction between those various terms, actually, if you look into it. So, I get that if somebody came here randomly and they heard us talking about foyers, they might be like, "What is this? Some kind of foyer channel?" It's not a foyer channel. It's an Eric channel. Ultimately, it's just you get Eric and whatever he's thinking about or doing at that moment. At the moment, I'm thinking and talking about what you get with this channel. And how I totally understand that, like, I wouldn't want to go to a restaurant where some days they have hamburgers, some days they've got, ceviche, some days they've got whatever else. I wouldn't want to go to that restaurant. I want to know what the restaurant has. If I'm going to go to it again anyway, I want to know that it's going to be the same, right? If the ESP demonstrates he knows everything channel, it's that is not the case. Like, look at what Future of Typology is complaining about. He's complaining about me doing chores. So, It's that old man, kid, donkey situation. If I'm riding the donkey, then I'm being mean because I'm too heavy for the donkey. Or I'm being mean because I should let the little kid ride. If the little kid is riding, then he's being rude because he should let the old man ride. If we're both riding, then we're being mean to the donkey because it's too heavy. Well, you just can't win, you know? They just keep showing this. I guess they don't have commercials. So when they go to commercials, they just show this tennis channel promo thing. I guess that's it for the Miami Open. We're currently watching the. This is the best typology stream, hands down. Well, thanks, Fly Guy. I appreciate it. Eric, if a statement ambiguous, if I mean it like that, or if it is interpreted as ambiguous. No, I mean, like, just from a straightforward sentence perspective, something can be ambiguous because it can be interpreted correctly in two different ways, right? Or something can be unambiguous. You know, if you say something like, uh, give me some of that cheese, that's ambiguous potentially because I might mean like money, like cheddar, or something. It could mean a couple of different things, depending on, and you'd have to determine from context. But if I say a square is if I say a triangle is defined as that which has three sides and three angles, exactly three sides and exactly three angles, well, that's unambiguous. From my POV, typology and politics are your wheelhouse. You're good with sports too, but not expert level like you are with the former two. Fair enough. You know. Uh, I've spent a lot of my life arguing politics as a debater or debate coach, and typology, I spent a lot of intensive time determining what's correct and also typing shit tons of people. Wow, that was a horrible hit. You guys want to see a horrible tennis hit? This lady could not have hit this tennis ball any worse. Watch this. Oh, let's go back another 15 seconds. Okay, will you stop meowing at me for a second, please? All right, let me get it set up here. How many times does it go before she hits it badly? I'll put it on slow speed. Okay, can you not, please? Okay, so I think she might hit it badly this time. Let's see. Woo! Went way over there. That's what I call a bad tennis hit. You can see my less than expert level of sports skill right there. There is such a significance to the passage of time. Ambi literally means two, so it means what you're saying can have two or more meanings. Right. That's a good observation. I had not ever thought of that before, but that's an excellent observation. Fine. I'm here. I'm queer. I'm ready to watch you eat. This cat, I tell you, man. There is a significance to the passage of time. What a strange thing to say. Yes, time frame matters. Obviously. What a strange thing to say. So are those who make rules necessarily winners? No. I don't understand why making rules would make you a winner. Anybody can make rules. Whether or not those rules will be enforced is another question. Let's think about the significance of the passage of time. I mean, mortality is the awareness of one's own mortality is the cornerstone of the human experience, and obviously is predicated on the passage of time. So, is the cornerstone of human experience significant enough for you? Well, Trevor's going to want to go outside now because his sister went outside and he doesn't want to let her go have fun by herself. He wants to go harass her because he's a bad kitty. Yes, you're a bad kitty. I don't know. They seem to do better out together, sort of outside. I think they generally do better together when I'm not around. I think Trouble's kind of possessive and jealous and just not a good kitty, really, in terms of level of toxicity. You know, in lots of ways, he's a good kitty, but he has this sort of BPD-ish toxicity about him. Help Jack off that horse is ambiguous. You're right, Fly Guy. That's an excellent example of ambiguity. The one I gave was not as nearly as good as that. Okay, I just pointed out that a certain noun can have more than one meaning, and that can make a sentence ambiguous, and that's true. But Fly Guy's example of ambiguity is much better than mine. Or like that guy eats, shoots, and leaves. Does he eat, shoot, and leave? Or does he eat, shoots, and leaves? Because he's a panda bear, for example. That's a good example of ambiguity. Is it? Like I'm not sure about that one. I I feel less I feel less convinced of that one's ambiguity. That seems pretty unambiguous. There's a kind of horrible Steve Martin joke that's also kind of funny. Let's try to. Is leaves a lot to be desired ambiguous? Well, not in the way that the good ones are. Like the good ones are like the first one, like I said, help Jack off that horse, or the one I said, which is the title of a book. Actually, it links to some book about language or something. Anyway, he that guy eats, shoots, and leaves. You know, does it mean that he's eating both shoots and leaves, or does it mean um, that he eats and then shoots and then leaves? Uh, the thing about that one is that one should be kind of disambiguated by punctuation. It seems like I think that what that book was about, punctuation. It's kind of a good NE test actually to say, can you come up with an ambiguous sentence such as? But the thing is, I didn't come up with that. I already knew it, right? So I read it before. So if I had to come up with an original one, well, hmm, that's a challenging question. I'll have to think about that for some time off stream. I could probably come up, even the ones I'm coming up with though tend to be based on things I already know. I want to come up with something that's entirely original. Uh, so I was thinking like, oh, well, you could use the multiple meanings of buffalo potentially. Do you still uphold absolute and instrumental as part of the cognitive system? Yeah, for sure. It it plays out. It's played out consistently in typing session after typing session too. When I mean, not it's not as consistent as like a skills test, but usually when you ask questions that are designed to determine like what one's value relationship with a function is, uh, you'll you'll find it bears out. It's especially true with things like the sixth slot function being counter valued and third slot function being absolute valued. Those are the easiest to see. You know, tool function will sometimes appear as an absolute value because if it's paired against something that like disables the tool function or renders the tool function useless, then people react very negatively to that. But that's not quite the same thing as an absolute value. Ultimately, you know, what it boils down to is that the tool function is going to appear absolute in certain capacities, and the polar is going to appear instrumental because people are so blind to their polar and don't even realize how important it is to them. I realize it now as I am filled with regret, shame, and sorrow over everything I've ever done wrong in my life. You know, every time I ever hurt anybody or, you know, failed to be there for them or something. Yeah. But, you know, that's part of the development arc. Even though people's function stack doesn't change. Their understanding of their own values can change. As they grow, they come to understand them better, you know. That may be a problem that's especially stark for FI polar, but I don't really know about that. It's easy to think from some perspective that FI polar is a good polar to have because it's not it well, it doesn't it's not especially valued by, I guess, the T half of the world. And whereas T tends to be valued by the F half, at least expressly, you know, in people's words. It's like important to be smart, you know. People don't have that same. Although I think it's changing. I do think it's changing. But I think society in general doesn't express the same kind of value for. Well, I would not say that, Jeremiah Fix. I don't know why I would say that, but who knows what they want least, FI polar or FI eighth? Well, ultimately it's going to be FI polar because FI eighth may not know what they want so much, also because it's super unconscious, but it's also not ultimately going to bother them that much in the way that failure in your polar does, because failure in your polar really hurts. And that's my experience anyway. I don't know how much that generalizes, but uh, but ultimately it is the case. Those are what your absolute values are. Like, it's so obvious that Rachel does not have the F's as absolute values, to me anyway. Especially FI. She hates being in her feelings. She hates it so much. I don't, I obviously don't like bad feelings, but I, I very much like good feelings. INFJs are insanely disconnected from their subjectivities with FI6 and SI8. Yeah, some of all I do have one because we value the polar and not the eighth, right? The polar is kind of the eighth is kind of countervalued almost. It's not quite countervalued, but it's like this is what I say about the eighth. In your mind, you left unmolested, you will feel like I've got the perfect amount of eight. What are you talking about? I've got just the right amount, the amount a person should have. But it's going to be much less effective, vastly less effective than, say, conscious SI third, two, one. You know, it might be sort of comparably effective to four. So, Jeremiah Fix, the questions you ask. Are there four types that share the same valued functions? Uh, I, I would guess that seems to make sense. Let me do the math here for a second. Same valued functions. The F's and the N's are valued by NTJs. No, INTJ, ENTP, Who else has N's and F's? Oh, ESFJ and there must be one more then. If it's ENTP, INTJ, ESFJ, there must be another one in the same quarter as INTJ, maybe? Like, uh, oh, wait, ISFP. ISFP is the fourth one. Bonjour. So your question says, are the definitions of cognitive functions consistent? Well, I mean, it's a strange question to ask. The real question to ask is, are the definitions operational? And they are. And that my definitions are. Like you can use the definitions I provide meaningfully to make a distinction in ways that are consistent with the other terms. So, for example, expert intuition can be distinguished from, say, introverted intuition in one way, in that it's a put function, whereas introverted intuition is a receive function. So, you know, it needs a form of action, and you can distinguish between action and knowledge in specific and articulable ways, right? So that and that's the thing to remember about definitions is we use them to do things. So for example, if you were to provide me an example of somebody paying attention in a certain way, I'd be able to tell you what kind of attention it was. Your little friend fella in the back is cool. Got two of them. I've got Foxy there, who's the mascot of the Sacramento minor league baseball team. And I've got Porter Churchill Murphy, who is he's kind of problematic because he tends to sexually harass people and then claim it's not his fault because he's a baby. Well, people don't use words to mean specific things, Jeremiah. That's the problem. I'll tell you what the problem is. You got a little dust on you. Right here. Right there. Porter Churchill Murphy, are you sexually harassing me? I'm just a baby. How could I sexually harass anybody? I'm a little baby. Touche. Touche. Porter Churchill Murphy. I made these clothes for him, too. I made them myself. See, I sewed them. I sewed these clothes up with a needle and thread. A no sewing machine. I don't need no sewing machine. Just give me a needle and thread and some pieces of cloth, and I'll make you some clothes, motherfucker. Well, I mean that he's got that armless shirt thing. If you want to call it a coat, he has no additional. If you ask if he has an additional garment, no, that's all of the garments he has. I did make the pants. I made the pants and I made that shirt slash coat or whatever. Kind of a sweater vest, but kind of a jacket shaped sweater vest. I think that might be the newest fashion trend, actually. I've not really seen that design much in the world before. Carrot does that too, huh? Well, I'm gonna needle toast to carrot. Needle stitching toast. Ching. So yeah, I'm not too disappointed at all that I didn't get my Adderall today. I'm kind of relieved, kind of pleased that I didn't get it. Kind of want to get another good night's sleep. We got a couple things planned for later in the day. I got to type Zandy. And then I talked to my friend Dave Porter on the phone last night, and he said he was going to. We got, the call got cut short. He said he'd call me back tonight. So. Listen, we all have some members of the family that we don't approve of their behavior. I don't approve of his behavior, okay? Have you ever had a client that could not tell you? Oh yeah, there's been a few of those, plenty, really. Uh, People that at the end of it, I usually have them down to two possible types. Can't confidently say which they are. Like, for example, it's really difficult to definitively give a good reason to distinguish somebody from an INTP and ENTP because I don't have a good SE polar test and I don't have a very good FI polar test. So that makes it hard to say for sure, right? But I can usually say, like, in those instances, I'll often be able to say anyway, intuitively, I'm very sure you're a meh and not a meh, but I can't win the argument definitively, you know? And then there are other typing sessions where somebody just really confuses the shit out of me. A lot of times, um, that'll actually get resolved in the after conversation. So then I'll say, okay, I don't know what type you are. What type do you think you might be? And then they say something like that I hadn't been thinking of for some reason. I'm like, oh, you are that type. That happened not very long ago. I mean, also, sometimes I just get it wrong. Like I got my own wife wrong when I typed her. And then later I determined she was an introvert, not an extrovert. You know, so. FE tool can appear very extroverty, and sometimes I let my intuition get in the way of my test. I gotta always just trust my test results, and they never steer me wrong. When I start letting my intuition say, yeah, but you really seem like a yeah, then that's where I get into trouble. Yeah, sometimes I do get stuck on the EI of the same type. It can be tricky. Like EI of NFJ. SI is not a very reliable polar test at all. I don't really have anything for polar. I can tell you when SI is testing it, um, 7, 8, either 7 or 8, maybe 6, like that group of possibilities. I can tell pretty well when it's unconscious versus conscious. And, but I don't have a good polar test at all for SI. It does not distinguish between 7 and 8 at all. So. That one's kind of a but the thing is, it doesn't matter because the TE polar test is so reliable. So I should be able to tell the difference between INFJ and ENFJ no problem these days. Now that I have I consistently use a reliable TE test. I often ask a couple of TE questions. Like I asked my neighbor who's an ISFJ. I had him pegged as an ISFJ, but I asked him a TE test question. I said, can you break down taking the trash out into exactly 5 steps? He just said, no. No, I can't. He didn't even attempt it. I don't have one for SI that works. I don't have one for. I mean, I have. I can get a feel for SE polar by asking questions about procrastination and relationship with doing things, and if they can give me examples of that are consistent with like SE polar, then I can kind of narrow down on that a little bit. But SI is just a crapshoot. I don't know. I'll come up with an answer that's 6, 7, or 8. Um, FE, I've got a pretty good FE polar test, I think, that works pretty well actually, but I don't get a lot of chance to use it. I don't type a lot of INTJs and I don't type a lot of ISTJs. So in other words, I don't get a lot of it, or put it this way, it rarely comes down to I need to test for FE polar for some reason. But when I do, I test it by saying, can you say the same sentence uh, in a regular way and then in a sarcastic way? FE polar tends to have a hard time doing that. My NI polar test is pretty darn good, actually. NE polar is fine. TI polar is good. TE polar is maybe the best of all. Um, but FE is a little iffy. SI is a crapshoot. SE is tough. FI, it's not as good as a skills test, but when you ask an FI polar person what's important to them, they tend to be really like perplexed by the question if they've not heard it before. And they'll answer something other than the actual answer, which is their family or their loved ones or whatever they'll say. Listening to music in the car? I had somebody tell me that one time. That's an FI polar answer to what's important to you. Yeah. So I guess both F's, SI, and both F's and both S's are a little iffy. I guess that's what it boils down to. Makes sense, of course, the T's would be easier to test. Hello, Tuesday. How are you doing? I've come to watch your Wednesday brewing. Tomorrow I'll get my Adderall. So I've got today to do what can only be called like bonus stuff. Whatever things I get accomplished today without any Adderall, that's just pre-gravy. Like I don't want to drive future of typology away, but I will tell you what is really starting to call my name. You may notice that my driveway is covered with all of these pine needles, sticks, leaves, etc. I would kind of like to sweep outside, even though I rarely do that sweep outside thing. I just figure just let the leaves be where they are. They're fine. But, well, like I can't walk anywhere out here without getting stuff stuck in my shoes. And I don't know, it just doesn't look very good. And it's not very much work to do it, really. If I use the big pusher, I just push everything over to there. And then I could actually burn if I wanted to because it's a burn day. Or, yeah, it must be a burn day because I saw burning happening today when I went out into town. Yesterday was definitely a burn day. I think today is too, though. Uh-oh, chores. Well, I haven't started them yet. You know, I do this. I do chores on the stream because it kind of motivates me to do them. But that's especially the case when like not really, not really feeling talking about anything in particular. I'm just being exploited in the stream in order to accomplish things that only matter to me. But right now, I'm not feeling that way, so, I'm just kind of chilling. We're watching a little tennis, talking a little typology. And I would say that if you're dealing with any typologist who thinks they're always right and never have any doubt about what anybody's type is, then they're not doing a serious job, as far as I'm concerned. Hank and Club ENTP. Yeah, okay. Boy, that guy runs from TI questions like they were chasing him with a knife. But I get it. People get pathologized for their deficit areas, more so with some deficits than others. And it impacts who they are. When people suffer through injustice a lot in childhood, it causes damage. It's unfortunate, but and then we deal with fucked up adults who are toxic because they were abused as kids and stuff. And of course, it's hard to be sympathetic of adults who are behaving badly. Hi, Winston's mom. Nice to see you. Let me just sneak away for a second. Cartal is signing tennis balls because she just won her match. She's buff as hell and she's playing tennis. Well, good for you, lady. Good for you. I don't know. I guess he wanted legitimization of it or something. Well, there's not really anything other than tennis on. I think in a second we're going to get a new tennis match, though. So I do have to wait for the between tennis match time to pass. And then we'll have a tennis match here. In the meantime, let's have another exciting rendition of the new Mexican national anthem. Piñatas, sombreros, 5 pesos each to ride my burros. Tequila and churros. Fiesta time in Michoacan. We'll have some flan and some margaritas. Este pueblo is home to me. Piñatas, sombreros, 5 pesos each to ride my burros. Tequila and churros. Fiesta time in Michoacan. Fiesta time in Michoacan. Wow, that was a big ending there, huh? Yeah, well, he thought, controversy gets eyes, and yeah, he was always operating. Thank you, Keisha. Thank you. Thank you, Winston Small. Appreciate it. So, I feel very obviously pretty good today. I'm playing music. I'm not on any Adderall. And that's kind of why I feel relieved that I didn't get any Adderall today. Thank you, TYPP. TYYP, I mean, sorry. No, I'm not a fan of the war in Iran. Uh, not a fan is one way to put it. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Well, is the new tennis game on yet? Let's see.
Only one more third round match.
Okay, well, go to the next thing now. Is it over? Let's see. Oh, maybe tennis is over now. I think the tennis is over now, so. All right. Stop talking there. Why do I take Adderall? No orange, Fly Guy. If I'm gonna paint it, just be white. Like I should have painted it in the first place. Or gray again is fine. Ugh. Why do I take Adderall? Because I'm a drug addict. That's the long and the short of it. Because I like to do drugs, and I think it's more fun than not doing drugs, and then, you know. Yeah, it's the wrong blue. It was supposed to match the color of the trim on the house. That's what I took a flake of that paint to get it matched at the paint store. But it doesn't look the same at all. So that plan was bad. And I have lived with the consequences of it ever since, feeling like a big dummy. A neutral like gray or white or black, I don't want to get painted black. But gray or white, that sounds safe, yeah. So we turned over Capito's box the other day because the other side of the box was getting super like concave because of her sitting on it all the time, whereas this new side of the box is still pretty flat. We weren't sure if she was gonna take back to the box because this side didn't have her smell on it, you know. But I'm pleased to say that she um, has taken to the other side of the box now. I think she's happier because it's flatter and now she's got her smell on it. So we've safely made the transition. But Pia's box troubles bench. Yeah, it's less saggy. Thank you. That's the best word for it. Less saggy. Why not put something in the box to support it? Anonymous, you're a real thinker. You may be anonymous, but you have some good ideas. I could put something inside the box to support it. I've not really ever thought about that before. I guess I wonder if it would make it too hard on her. You know, it's like if I put a my guy. That sounds like a horribly, horribly complicated way to do things. I guess I could ask AI to do it, you know. Like take some photos of different angles of my house and then um, have AI make a digital 3D model of everything, including the retaining wall, and try different colors. I wonder if AI could do something like that. So if I was gonna put something into the box to support it, it's like let's say I found a square piece of wood somehow, or a rectangular piece of wood that was just perfect to fit inside of that box. Let's just say I was able to find that piece of wood, and I put it in there, and it just held up the floor perfectly. Would the floor then be too hard for her? Like, would she not want to sit on it because it's too firm? Whereas this has got kind of some give. I'm not a huge fan of the whole mural idea, really. So much as I'm a fan of a retaining wall that doesn't slap me in the eyes every time I look at it. Because right now that's what I have. I have an eye slapping retaining wall. I did this to myself. I have nobody else to blame. Cats like boxes and stuff that's yours. Well, the other thing I could do is I could I could put something underneath the box to support it. Then I could put some of those table circles on top of it. The cats seem to like, yeah, they seem to like being sitting on the table circles. If you don't know what I'm referring to, you might call them placemats, but they're circles. They like to sit, when I have this piled in the middle, Trouble likes to sit right here in the middle, like king of the table. You get it right under the light, and he sits right there, and he's like, perfect. I like the symmetry of this. See, could be a little bit this way, maybe. A little bit this way. There, that's about right. Yeah, that's right in the middle. Yeah, it's funny. It looks a little bit out of the middle in different ways as you walk around it. So if it looks a little bit out of the middle in every direction, maybe it's in the middle. There you go, Trouble. Make your way outside. Find adventure in the spirit of nature. Go, go, my son, be free. Oh, you don't want to go outside. Okay, fine. So, yeah, cats do seem to like to be in the middle of things that are about the size of their body, like this box or those circles. Funny, he doesn't really sit on them when they're not in the middle. When I have them spread out like that. I haven't been sitting on them. Like, nope, not symmetrical enough for me. Get out of here with your asymmetrical circles. King of the Table is a good title for Trouble. Also, he's a real sun seeker, you know. He likes to find spots where the sun is shining and sit on those spots. Capito, on the other hand, is more of a blanket finder and or just a curl up in a warmer spot person. Cat. Like she often sleeps on the beds upstairs, kind of curled up in the blankets a little bit. Whereas Trouble, when he's actually sleeping at night, he'll just like sleep kind of in the middle of the floor with his face into the carpet, you know. But but then when the sun comes out, he'll move around, follow the sunlight to its spot that it moves to, and sit in that spot. What do you think a good synonym for saggy is? The word saggy. Acacia, I believed it was, used it earlier to describe the box. It makes me wonder if you were going to use saggy in an inky pinky, although I can't at the moment think of anything that actually rhymes with saggy except for baggy. But there probably are other words. Like, I can't think of any at the moment. But if you were going to come up with a synonym for saggy, what would be a good synonym for it? Droopy, that's a good one. Good call, Droopy. That is the best one. Right there. That's NI. Bam. The answer. It's fine. It's just the chair. I don't want a repeat of what happened yesterday when Rachel accidentally stepped on Trouble's tail. But yeah, it's unavoidable. It's going to happen occasionally because he's always underfoot. I mean, he's not always underfoot, but he's often underfoot. Like, you know, we were standing over there by the barbecue. He comes in, like, stands right between our feet. And we're not necessarily paying attention to him and where he's going. We're trying, or necessarily keeping track of where he is while we're having this chat. And he was fine, obviously, but he made quite a screech, kind of a sound. It it made us both feel bad, of course, but nothing we could do about it. Sometimes he sits in really terrible places, and we're like, he'll be mostly behind the chair, but a piece of him will be sticking out, and I've kicked him a couple of times walking from the kitchen back to the living room. I always feel bad about it, but he needs to do a better job of picking his spots, I think, sometimes. Where am I from? I'm from California, from Mariposa County, California. It's in the western Sierra Nevadas, low Sierras. We're only about 4,100 feet. Which to me feels kind of like sort of in the mountains, I guess, because I grew up in Los Angeles, but as a child, I grew up vacationing to Mammoth, which is the eastern Sierras. And the town of Mammoth is 8,500 feet, and the top of Mammoth Mountain is over 11,000 feet. So to me, that's what it means to go into the mountains, historically. But there's actually not that many trees once you get up to a certain height. There's no trees. It's called the tree line because of elevation. Anyway, you only have trees on the bottom part of Mammoth Mountain. You have trees in town. You know what the problem with skiing is, at least around here? There's a there's a short window of good skiing opportunity. Like, if I had wanted to go skiing, I would have had to do it like 2 Mondays ago, I think it was, or when it snowed all weekend. I mean, it snowed Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it didn't snow Sunday, but it was no longer the weekend. That Monday would have been perfect to go skiing, but I wasn't feeling motivated on that day, that moment. So I didn't feel like doing that. May Odin be with you all. Well, thanks. I hope Odin is. What's Odin's job? Like Thor's in charge of lightning, or maybe just thunder. I'm not sure. What's another Norse god besides Odin and Thor? Well, there's Freya. What's she the goddess of? Odin is approximately 3,460 centimeters. Okay, well, nobody knows how much that is. I mean, sure, we know it's 340 meters. That's pretty big. That's actually pretty big. Loki, Yeah, well, Loki's god of mischief, but I don't really think that really being a job. Like, Apollo, he had a job. He had to carry messages to between the gods. And Pan had a job. He had to party. That was his job. But Loki's job was what? Just causing trouble? Why even hire somebody to do that job? We just need a mischief maker around here to muck shit up. It's overcast today. It's sunny here. I wonder if there are a fair amount of children who think for a while in their youth that the word overcast is overcats. I wonder. This is a symbol of me wondering. Huggin and Murrin approved? Who are Huggin and Murrin? Let me Google it. Odin is widely regarded as the god of the dead and of warfare. Well, we don't need him around then right now because we're not dying or going to war. Hugin and Murin are two ravens in Norse mythology that act as Odin's messengers and spies. Oh. Flying across Midgard, the world of men, daily to gather knowledge, they return to Asgard in the evening to perch on Odin's shoulders and whisper the secrets they have witnessed. Well, good for them. Good for them. I think the sour dog is you mean pronounced it in their head sour dog? Maybe. I think the sour dog is less likely than the overcast overcats. Do some kids think overcast is overcats? I don't see any indication on the internet that yes, um, some children think that overcast is overcats. Yeah, Odin already defeated the frost giants. We don't need him anymore. How much do doctor's appointments cost without insurance? Well, if we go to the urgent care, it's like, I don't know, $100 or something. It's not that expensive. I was surprised by how not expensive it was. We've only had to go to the doctor one time recently, well, within the last few years, and it was because Rachel had a UTI. So she went to get some antibiotics. If some dyslexic kids think overcast is overcats, and I'm a kid, do I necessarily think that overcast is overcats? No, for many reasons there, multiple reasons. How about if you want to get a script? Oh, well, my doctor's appointment with the psychiatrist is like $250 a pop or something. That's different kind of in the sense that, you know, I went out of my way to find the right doctor rather than the cheapest doctor because when I got that psychiatrist, I got him for Rachel, who needs an actual psychiatrist because she's got bipolar mania, and he did a wonderful job of getting her properly medicated. And then I eventually switched over to him too to prescribe me Adderall, and I'm glad I did uh, because he doubled my dosage. And that's what they call return on investment. Yeah, I don't actually have to see my doctor every 3 months. He doesn't make me do it that often, but I see him probably every 4 months or so. Or maybe even less months. My controlled substance is only 1 month. Oh, yeah, I can only get a script for 1 month too. Unless I'm going out of the country, I gotta show like documentation that I'm going out of the country. Then you can get up to 3 months. Yeah, I can only get 30 days at a time, and I have to call it in to the doctor every month. He doesn't automatically refill it. I have to contact him via the messaging thing and ask him to refill it. Even though it's been 10 years. What controlled substance are you taking, Acacia? Bum 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 bum. You don't have to see the doctor every month. You just have to. You can't get more than 30 days worth of pills, and you have to contact the doctor every month. Prescription cocaine? How wonderful. What is that? Oh, that's Acacia. Oh, she doesn't want to say what she's taking. Um, cool. Well, you're in luck. That doesn't sound fun, so I don't want any. Otherwise, like, oh, hook me up, bro. Hook me up. Can you write the song about the boy from Ipanema? Well, you just change girl to boy, really. He could still be tall and tan. Or he wouldn't be lovely, I guess. Tall and tan and dark and handsome. The boy from Ipanema goes walking. And when he's walking, everybody's like, woo woo. Short and white and awful or pale. Short and white and burns so easily. He has got a very big hat on. He needs it to keep sun off of his shoulders, his neck. That would fit better neck. Yeah. On his feet, he's got some flip flops because sand's too hot and he can't walk on it. He is hurrying back into hotel. Yeah. Oh, he should never have gone out. Now he's all sweaty again. He just took a shower before he left the hotel room door. Hello there, Popovich. You're welcome, Acacia. I didn't understand the concept at first. Once you explained the concept to me, I was all in. That song's lyrics kind of have a similar vibe to them as the Pinata song, you know. Pinata Sombrero seems like some really oblivious gringo on vacation, you know. Oranges hinges on the hotel room door. Mexico actually doesn't have any oranges. They eat guavas. That's it. That's the only fruit they have. Mexico only has guavas. My daughter's maternal grandmother from Michoacan, she always had guavas in the house. They always smelled so good. She called them, of course, guayabas. And naturally, I said to her all the time, "Hey, you're mispronouncing that." No, I didn't. But yeah, guavas make the kitchen smell really good. Make the whole house smell good. But here's the problem with guavas. They tend to attract a lot of little bugs. So, you know, it's a whole trade-off kind of situation. Do you smoke now? Yeah, I smoke. The Girl from Ipanema is most commonly played in F major, featuring a prominent and chord structure in the A section. While often performed in F, the famous 1964 Getz Gilberto recording is in blank major? What? You left out the number one letter in the whole thing. What made you a smoker? I don't know, youth and stupidity. I started smoking when I was young and 17, but then I quit when I was 21. Then I started smoking again when I was 31, so maybe I should not say that. I guess I started smoking at 31 because of my divorce. I don't know. I didn't care. I just started smoking. Like, fuck it. Probably shouldn't have, but did. I've quit on a few occasions for varying lengths of time since then, too, but I'm not quit right now. I guess I'm gonna have to make some food. I have to eat some food anyway. Might as well make something, I guess. Of course, I'm gonna make something. I need to clean up the kitchen a little bit. Kind of feel like I'm running out of gas. Maybe I should just make a frozen thing. At this point, we're like completely out of meat. But I think I'm gonna try one of these bad boys. Chicken fingers with mac and cheese. It's a little smaller than your normal banquet meal, maybe. Cooked for 3 minutes. It doesn't take very long. Let's give her a try. And I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to serve that with a little bit of ketchup for extra flavor. That's why. We eat this. Maybe we'll wrap up the stream at that point. Maybe try to take a little nap. Have I eaten all my tacos? Yeah, all the tacos are long gone. We're out of some key ingredients, so I'm kind of limited right now. In what I can prepare. Am I a peanut butter enjoyer? I possibly should be more of a peanut butter enjoyer. Is unsugared peanut butter something that is good for somebody who has diabetes? Because I gotta face it, I have diabetes. And, you know, I'm trying to, I got corned beef hash. I'm trying to, well, I'm completely cutting out the actual sugar stuff, like sodas and candy and desserts. But I'm also wanting to limit my carbs as much as possible without totally torturing myself, you know. But today I don't have a lot of choices. Girl, you wanted to kiss or just approach when you was on college. What type you think she was? Do you have an idea about it? I don't really. You're asking an FI question. No, my relationship with SI is so terrible. Like, almost all of the time I spend in SI knowing, like, you know, you saying that, bringing up memories and stuff, it's all bad. It's like 95% bad. It's not like my life's been 95% bad, but you remember the bad things so much more than the good things. At least I do. Maybe that's a fourth flight SI thing, I don't know. But my relationship with SI is terrible. On the metaphysical level. On the physical level, it's not so bad. Oh, I could eat Rachel's leftovers. I should have looked in the fridge before I made this. I still need to catch up either way. And I didn't need a drink other than coffee. I'm gonna have these. These are so delicious. They only have 1 gram of sugar. You like peanut butter and honey Uncrustables? I do have some Uncrustables in the freezer, but those are definitely not on diet. It's not that mac and cheese is really on diet either, but I am going to end up eating some carbs, you know? What is it? Is this being modified by whether or not it occurs in an apocalypse? Let's see. I'm missing some key things in this. You think getting fat before the incoming apocalypse is a reasonable idea? No, because even if one were correct that indeed some kind of apocalyptic change is coming, it's a little difficult to predict exactly when that's going to happen. So you could be getting fat and being extra fat for like 25 years, and then finally the apocalypse happens. Well, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Right, well, presumably in this apocalypse, in pretty much any apocalyptic scenario, access to adequate food supplies becomes a problem. Not, most of us aren't used to farming. We're losing the war against Iran? I'm not sure I really buy that, Chrissy Jones. Well, you gotta make a good point. It's a good observation. If you're just trying to be famine resistant, then okay, fat's good. But if you factor in other things like the need to outrun stuff, then maybe all in vain if you're fat enough to survive for a year, but you don't make it out of the first day because you're too slow. No problem. I got chicken sticks and mac and cheese. What more can a person want in life? Mm. And all at a very affordable price. These ones are even cheaper than the normal banquets. Which are already like the cheapest frozen dinners you can get. All signs indicate we are losing in regards of logistics and longevity. Well, so what if we do lose the war? It's not like that means Iran's going to come take over. We lost Vietnam. We tied Korea. But yeah, I mean, I agree that it's a stupid waste of money, among many other problems with it. I don't know. I'm not in favor of the war in Iran. So, but let's say we were to stop it all of a sudden. Wouldn't that comprise losing? And wouldn't that also be saving us money? Did the Iranian football team get hit by a there's an ambiguous. No, it's not ambiguous because Iranian is not before football. Well, I mean, Israel shouldn't be surprised that Iran attacked them back, you know. They definitely should have seen that one coming. After typology, what topics do you find interesting to deal with in an intellectual way? Um, well, I like to intellectualize about. Well, I kind of like to intellectualize about music. Um, because it's such a magical art medium. And but I don't even know if that qualifies as intellectualizing. You know, TI is my tool function. It's something I do to do work in the world. It's not something I necessarily value in and of itself. I think about stuff periodically. These days, I'm not as ideationally active as some kinds of things I used to be. A lot of that, I guess, has to do with the fact that there are plenty of questions that for me are resolved that people consider unresolved. And what I mean by resolved is that I have the answers I've given plenty of times in myriad circumstances. I've never gotten any kind of good answers enough back to make me doubt my conclusions. There are certain philosophical inquiries that have good, satisfying answers that people think don't have good, satisfying answers. There are other lines of inquiry that are kind of inherently dead end that plenty of people, probably myself included, had to walk to that dead end themselves. So for those reasons and others, I'm not as philosophically engaged as I once was. Well, Acacia, I'm sorry, but you're not allowed to do that. It's your tool function, and you just got to live with that. Maybe it's because NE is inherently more fun than TI. TI is pretty dry, you know. Even if I got a pig that could find mushrooms and I took the pig out to find mushrooms, unless he only found psychedelic mushrooms, then I'd still have no use for him because I don't want to eat mushrooms. Why don't you want to eat mushrooms, Eric? Because they're gross, obviously. And while I might want to eat a pig, I don't want to kill a pig or butcher a pig. That sounds like a real FI kick in the nuts. Sounds like a real a day no pigs would die. I mean, I hear you, Casey Jones. I wouldn't mind for them to sell a couple missiles and give me the money too, you know. We could use a couple less missiles. I could use some more money. But I do think that if they do sell some missiles, they definitely should give the money to me. It's only fair. After all, I'm the one who came up with this idea of them selling some missiles. What? Casey Jones came up with it? Guys, you're getting confused. You need to remember the history that I tell you, okay? This is my idea. That's why I get all the money from the missiles. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get myself a pair of glasses. Alex Holdfast, you have the correct perspective on things. Namely, the same perspective on mushrooms as I have. A true story of how a dog became a truffle hunter thanks to magic mushrooms. Really? I'm curious about that. In the future, human beings will be classified as cyborgs and be more mushroom and machine than man. I saw a headline yesterday that said, you know, exciting development. Evolution no longer thought to be random. Like, At some point, is anybody gonna realize like we keep changing what we're saying? Maybe we're wrong. Do any of us know? Do none of us know what trouble looks like? I think it's kind of like a round thing. I've seen them shaving truffles in restaurant like videos. I don't know if I've ever seen it in a real restaurant, but I've seen it in like on TV, them shaving truffles. So I know they do look a little bit turdy. I think Acacia's right. They're they don't, at least when they're being shaved, they don't look like a normal mushroom. And I don't think they taste particularly good either. I don't know why they're such a big deal. It's like a big lump, not like a normal mushroom shape. It's an inverted mushroom. Hmm. Saying what they will, or is it saying what they want? So you wanted a hit? Well, maybe we don't do hits. Such a good track. Truffles and caviar, ew, phew. I agree. The leading system was created because mans are unable to take responsibility of their own mind and emotions. Instead of saying they do not know, they chose imagination to believe, but never know. Well, it is true that a lot of people have some degree of ambiguity intolerance, which is to say, they want to have the answer rather than I don't know. I think in general, people are epistemologically destabilized right now. Like just look at the Epstein files. Prior to the release of the Epstein files, most rational people were on the side of, oh come on, there are not these wild conspiracies with these rich people doing all this crazy stuff. Like, um, why would they be so different than anybody else? They're just regular people. Take a shit in the morning like everybody else. Well, it turns out the conspiracy theorists were right about that stuff. So that's just one example of that kind of thing, where it feels hard to know what to believe anymore. So you've got this camp of people who are saying that, Jim Carrey is not really the same Jim Carrey, when it seems pretty obvious that it is the same Jim Carrey, who just got bad plastic surgery. But you've also got people saying that Ghislaine Maxwell is not actually her in prison. And I think those people are right. Having seen the photos myself, I don't think that's the same woman. I think that they've got a different woman in there pretending to be Maxwell. And a few years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something, I would not have given much credence to that notion. I would have just been like, oh, come on, that's stretching me. the bounds of credibility a little bit. So, it's a tough moment in time to know things. This just in. Benjamin Netanyahu has been in an affair with Donald Trump. An affair, huh? Your first billion reorganizes your cells. I guess so. I guess so. So the thing is, there are different kinds of belief. Belief is not a very good word, right? Because it doesn't accurately describe what people are doing with information at all or positions. So people either affirm or negate them. Positions, for example, they might consistently affirm or negate a given position, or they might additionally claim that they understand something by a way of explanation, or they might claim to know something by a memory or by intuition. So people don't really believe things. That's not an operationalizable term. I was not in the Epstein files for sure. And what, to be honest, with what? I don't think that really qualifies as wit. But I don't know. Call me a stickler for an idea. Like, if you want to engage wittily in some fashion, have an idea first. I don't think that accusing somebody falsely of being in the Epstein files qualifies as an idea per se. More like just mindless slander. It's true that deniers deny things. It's also true that innocent people deny things. Of course, liars do as well. But I'm innocent. So, the good news about this particular piece of slander, is that anybody could search them for my name and they won't find it. So at least it's falsifiable. Well, your personal experience is not going to cut it in this case. Sorry. Yeah, hence them inquiring what wit. No wit. Well, you kind of sound like a jackass. I nevertheless assume you're human. So anyway, it's a lovely day out. Sun shining, birds tweeting, neighbors not home. It's always nice when the neighbors across the street aren't home. I don't have to listen to their music and other activity that they do. Feel a little bit better after eating, but I still don't really feel energized. I think what I'm going to do is maybe go inside, pull a bong rip, and I might play everybody a goodbye song. There is actually still a little bit of snow. I saw a patch as I was driving out this morning over down on Cedar. There was still a little patch of snow. I was surprised to see it, but yeah, we do still have bits of snow here and there. Probably where the snowplow piled it up or something. All right, let's go inside. Let's execute our plan. And then after that, I'll probably take a nap. I got typing session with Andy tonight. I got a conversation with my friend Dave Porter tonight. Then tomorrow, I can go and get my Adderall. I have to grind some more. Yeah, I'm typing Zandy. I don't know if she wants to publish or not, but she wanted to be typed, so I said sure. I'm not charging her or anything. Because, you know, when Rachel asks me to type somebody, especially, the answer is always yes. But even if Zandy had asked me herself, I wouldn't have charged her. We have hung out with Zandy too much for me to be charging her. Okay. Grinding complete. I might have typed her a long time ago, but I don't trust my very old typings. I'm a much better typologist than I was years ago. I have a lot more experience doing it, and I know better what to prioritize in terms of, you know, weighting things. So, like, I don't even remember if I gave her a proper TE polar test or not or whatever. So, we'll find out when I type her. No, I already gave you. Yeah, she is. I already gave you the new Mexican national anthem. I'm going to give you a different song this time. I'm going to give you a song. I think you know what song it is. I do. I believe you already know what song it is. I haven't played it yet today. And it's a song that celebrates one of America's great heroes. And also, it might give you a hint. A hero also of the nation of Greece. All right, first I'm going to pull another bomber. Now, this is not a Hispanic lady, okay? She's a Native American. She's from the Firecrotch Indian tribe. How? She's 100% Native American, okay? He lives in a teepee, hunts buffalo, the whole 9 yards. Okay, here we go. We're going to send you off today with a poignant tribute to the late, great Telly Savalas. That's right. Who needs to be celebrated because of his talent in asking questions. Obviously, he asked the most important question of all time. The question that I will now ask you today. The question you'll remember forever. Who loves you, baby? Who loves you, baby? Dennis Wallace. Who loves you, baby? Who loves you, baby, now? Who loves you, baby? I'll tell you who. Dennis Wallace. Who loves you, baby? Dennis Wallace does. Who loves you, baby? Who loves you now? Who loves you, baby, better than you've been loved? How do you know who loves you, baby? Who loves you so good? I'll tell you who. Dennis Wallace. You heard someone make a Telly Savalas joke in a video game yesterday? Wow. Wow, that's big news. I'm glad that Telly Savalas is back in people's consciousness a little bit. After being gone for a while, it seemed like. Okay. Anyway, not just Telly Savalas loves you. I love you too. And I very much appreciate you being here and chatting with me. Now I think it's about time for me to take a nap. Good night, goodbye, and good luck.